Hello. All right. I'm standing. All right. That was fun. All right, thank you guys. Thank you for coming all the way from wherever that was in this fantastical world of Indigo Land. I loved hearing the story of where this came from, but I think we need a little bit more. First of all, who was the clown between the two of you? And can you do a trick for us?
He's in all black. Come on, he's obviously. I did go to circus school, but it was terrible. But I can still juggle.
Not terrible. He just had no commitment.
He had a really mean instructor. Like
I did have a mean instructor.
So I really want clown school with Tig Notaro. Like
I know, right?
A movie.
Doing the French accent,
right? I could watch a whole movie of that, with that 5-minute sequence, like the whole thing. I love it. Anyway, okay. So how do you have this story in your head and then go, you know what? Instead of actually having a screenplay, I'm going to change it and have it be lyrics by the Indigo Girls.
Well, I mean, I love musicals. We love musicals. All of the films that we've made are musicals or music driven, and I always wanted to do this kind of thing with some artist. And when I wrote the script and we talked about where the music would come from, we met some like Broadway composers. We talked about different people that we could go to. We thought maybe we would try to find a bunch of people from that era that we were fans of, and that was obviously going to take way too long and be way too expensive. And we just, I've always loved Indigo Girls. He's always loved them, and it just one day I was just like, why don't we just ask them? And we sent an email to their manager, Russell, and I think within 3 or 4 days they said, let's read the screenplay. And it was like within a week that they said yes, which in our business, that's like, it might as well be like just have happened yesterday because things are so slow. And we were like, oh wow. And they were so trusting, and it was, we kept asking for feedback, like what don't you like? Like, are there some other songs you'd rather us use? And they were so totally hands off and so totally trusted us. It was kind of amazing. And
what was your like original pitch to them? How did you sell it?
I mean, just that it was a love story between two young men that was not about, the conflict in the story doesn't come from their sexuality, which was something that we really wanted to do, because we've told that story before and a lot of people have told that story and it's an important story to still tell, but that wasn't the story we wanted this to be. And I think, and it was two young men, I think that made them more interested. I think maybe they might have been hesitant if it was two women. That's our guess, because we've never actually talked about it with them, but because I think we sort of guessed from what we've heard that they would be afraid people would be thinking it was about them, you know. So yeah, and after we made the movie, actually I think while Amy was in Mexico shooting her stuff, we talked about it, and she was like, oh yeah, we've been sent hundreds of scripts and we just didn't like any of them. And I was like, wow.
So the pressure was on halfway through the shoot.
They actually gave us, I mean, there's some, Emily has solo albums and Amy has solo albums, so within the movie there's also some solo.
There's one of each.
There's one of each, yeah. There's the song Match, which was an Emily solo, and then there's the song Little Revolution, which was Amy's.
Was there a song that you like had to get in there, like a favorite that you're like, no matter what, we find a place?
Believe it or not, Closer to Fine was not in the script until
the Barbie movie came out. Which is amazing for a low budget film.
It was not in the script until our financier said, I want to give you the money for this, and I was like, everybody was like, it has to be in there, and we made it work. But the thing is, like, I'm talking a lot, but they have so many amazing songs. I think most of my favorite songs of theirs are breakup songs, which is not what this particular movie is about. So maybe there's another movie about using the breakup songs.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard. Like, we had a whole list that we kept saying, how do you get these in? And then, Galileo, like, we had to have Galileo in there.
You had to. Well, I mean, you didn't have to. I mean, that's it. You made the choice.
So it was really, yeah, I mean, you could do many movies with their
300 songs, right?
300 songs.
You notice the screenwriter kept the the microphone as long as possible. That's the only way you get to talk as a screenwriter. I think.
That's true.
Okay, so what's it like to work together as a couple and working on projects together and having it be essentially
we don't speak anymore.
especially your love life and the meeting and.
It's challenging. I mean, we've done, what is this, our fifth feature? So we know that when we're making the movie, it's hard, but we keep saying at the end of a movie that we'll never work together again. And then we come back and do another movie. So the musical keeps bringing us back together.
Love it. So tell us about how you found your doom and what it was about.
I mean, look at this guy.
Come on, Alan. Look at this face and this is doom.
We were doing this movie like right in the kind of peak of the pandemic, and it was actually really great for casting because casting at that point, I mean, now it's a problem, but casting at that point was really online, so we really could open it up to the entire world. And so we got thousands of tapes from all over.
And this was, like, now that people are very organized about virtual casting, but nobody was doing it at this time. This is in the spring of 2021. And our casting director, because he'd never done this, would literally just made a Dropbox where he would just put videos in it. There were well over 1,000 videos on Dropbox that were unlabeled. It was like whatever label the actor sent. And it was just completely, they were not organized.
He might be watching.
Yeah.
It's not him.
I love you singing, Steven.
It's not him, it was the way, nobody knew how to do it yet. So it was actually extremely grueling and time consuming to go through and because also everybody sang the same 2 songs. So it was like, oh my gosh.
That sounds,
we had
that
them-
sounds atrocious.
No, it's pretty amazing. Like someday we'll have to get the rights to like release some of the auditions because
Some are really
it's pretty amazing. I mean, some people were really he wasn't creative at all, but
Actually wasn't,
yeah. So
Well, I was like, I would go to bed and I would lay in bed because I stay up late and I would go through the videos on my phone and his video popped up and I was like, that's totally him. And I sent Tom an email in the middle of the night that he got the next morning and we were getting ready to do callbacks and I think we only called back maybe 3 people for that role and he was the character from the second we saw the video. So it was very so then it was finding a glitter to match him was actually more challenging.
And we did. I mean, you can talk.
You can talk.
we did lots of callbacks. We put him through.
I wish I had known I was like in the lead for this role. I'd had like
I would've asked for more money.
weeks. Yeah.
But yeah, we partnered everybody up on Zoom, and
It was weird though because there were people from all over the world. Like I was reading with someone from Broadway, and then there was from the Philippines, and it was just, it's something you could only do now. Like, go back even 5 years, it would have been weird. And yeah, I wish I had known it was me being paired with everyone else and not just like, but yeah, it was great. And then Alex came along and, it was amazing. It was, I mean, for me it was life-changing because I had never done any of this. I had kind of like started out in the theatre, and it was only really the pandemic that caused the shift because theatre closed down. And it was like I had not worked for a year and a half. My agent had just dropped me all of a sudden, and like the last thing I had sent through them was the tape for this movie, and it was like a month before I heard from you guys again. So I was agentless, thinking that I would have to like really consider like doing something else properly, and
Busboy.
yeah, well, exactly, it would have been. And then I got the call back, and the rest is, I guess, history. And I say this every time we do a Q&A, but like I am endlessly indebted to both of you because I don't know what I'd be. I certainly wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't.
And strangely, your agent showed up again and was like, "Where's my gag?"
No, I signed with a much better agent.
But it was, I mean, to have Alex and Alan, I mean, we brought them down to Mexico City. We had about, 10 days of rehearsal?
10 days?
10
We
days
had,
of
like,
rehearsal.
10 minutes.
I mean, how did you find Mexico City though? Why was that the place? Because it looks gorgeous on screen, and I, as somebody who's seen a lot of movies, there's a lot of imagery in there that I've never seen before. It's nice to see a town that you're like, oh, that's a new place, a new
Yeah.
look. Like, I don't know how many times I've seen that damn tunnel in Los Angeles going into the town, you know, like every single car commercial uses that. But, so it's nice to see like a place you don't recognize, but it has so much vivid imagery.
Yeah, Mexico City, we shot another movie. We shot a film called Mariachi Gringo down in Mexico. And we have a great relationship with producing partners down there. I mean, this movie was made for very little money. And when we started doing the math, we thought of taking it to New Orleans. We, thought, what were some of the other places? And we would have gotten maybe like 18 days of shooting. And then we realized, like, let's talk to our Mexico producers again and see if this works. And then we got really excited. In Mexico, Mexico City, you can find anything. It's like such an amazing city that has every sort of.
We like even the mountains where they camp is in the city limits of Mexico City.
Oh, wow.
It's Mexico City is 11,000 feet elevation, and those mountains are another 2,000 feet high, which is why there are like hailstorms in the middle of the summer, which we didn't realize until we were shooting. But yeah, it's an extremely gorgeous city and amazing people, and the quality of like the film we could make on our budget there was exponentially larger than here. The crews are incredibly talented, and we had a crew of like 150 people, which if we shot here, we would have had 50 people maybe.
Todd, why are we not getting money from the Mexican consulate?
And it's also, we also wanted to have like a fable feeling to it, and so we liked the idea of kind of having this like everywhere, anywhere place, different accents, different locations, where it just kind of feels like it could be all over.
But it's so warm too. Like that's it. Like just like the feeling of it was like it was inviting, and that has to do with color, but also shot choices and costuming, and talk about the production design and how that all came together.
Our costume designer is Adela Cortez. She has like 3 Ariel Awards, the Mexican equivalent of an Oscar. She did the costumes for the Selena series. Like, she's huge. Like, we could never have had a costume designer like of her caliber on our budget in the United States, and she worked her ass off. Like, she literally, I think she handmade half of the costumes. Like, incredible work, and like, and the outfit that Jim's best friend wears, the measuring tape strap thing that Lizzo wore in the cover of Vogue. We shot that a year and a half before that cover, and she had already thought this should be in our movie. Like, she's so far ahead of the ball as far as style, and just an insanely talented person.
So cool. So Alan, tell me a little bit about your approach to this character, and also about acting and playing guitar at the same time, because that seems that's not easy. That's like
it's really not though. Like, I think like there was a lot to this movie. Like there was various different elements for both Alex and I, because he was learning how to juggle at the same time as having to get to come to terms with the character. Same for me in terms of, I had played a lot. I played a ton of different instruments to a certain level, but it's very different when you're getting on set every day and you're like, oh, today is these 3 songs, and then tomorrow is, I sing like a lot of songs. But it's something, I come from a musical theatre background, so being able to access emotion through song is kind of like my wheelhouse. So that side of it comes naturally to me, and I think that was in some ways the easiest way in to Doom, because so much of his soul is put out there through these lyrics that he's writing. Thank you, the Indigo Girls. Yeah. But so yeah, through the lyrics, it's really, you get a sense of who he is, in the sense of, the Indigo Girls are poets rather than songwriters, I like to think. And he is the same in the way that he thinks in these like really linguistic ways. And that helped me shape him as a character, and there's a lot in his past, and we did a lot of work about Robin, his mother, and that what that backstory looked like, in order to really he's dark. He's very dark, but also he's got this.
His name is Doom.
Well, yes, there is that.
He did name himself that.
It's a stage name. It's not given a birth. But yeah, he's got this kind of like dual thing, and I think Glitter is the only person in a while that has brought that out of him, that lightness and darkness. Oh, But yeah, that was the way in. It was through the songs, and then through being with Alex, who is glitter in real life. Like, he's just so annoying, incredible at the same time. But he's just this bundle of energy, and really, like, we were shooting very early. I am not a morning person, so we very much lived up to our character names a lot of the time.
I love that. Let me open it up and see if we have any questions from the audience. And I am sorry, it's blinding light, so you might have to like move your arm around quite a bit so I can.
They did sing. Wait, just one second. They did sing like 95% of the music and the singing is live. So we right before we shot, we went into the recording studio just as like a rehearsal. But then on set, they all had, if you look really closely, sometimes you can see it, they have earwigs in their ears, so they were playing and singing live.
That's impressive.
This may be a kind of a wonky question, but as a photographer, looking at the camera, that's typically a still kind of camera.
Yeah.
But I get the sense that the camera is more than just a camera here. Can you talk a little bit more about sort of the role of the camera and why you made that decision?
Yeah, I mean, we all kind of like the fable. Like, we like the idea of kind of taking technology and mixing it all up. And I mean, obviously, that camera. I mean, first of all, if you're a photographer and it's sitting by the pool and you see like the water just splashing on it. But yeah, I mean, we like the idea of twisting that and having kind of a bunch of different eras. There's VHS. There's, you know, the sound is of Super 8 mixed with I don't know, some other. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the genesis of that. And even when we were trying to figure out what camera it would be, we went through all sorts of options from, you know, big, huge 80s things to, and then we really, you know, I love the idea of that viewfinder and looking and making that be the motion picture.
And the like story impetus for the whole camera is that, I mean, you see into Doom's soul through his songs a lot, and I really thought we needed a way to give Glitter some moments where we're really seeing him sort of bare soul, and it's a very now kind of thing also to do that. So yeah, that was the story purpose.
I mean, also, this is maybe too much information, but when he and I first started dating, and I was away, we
At
did.
Clown College.
No, I wasn't. I mean, that's. But we sent.
True stories.
That was a different part. I was actually in Ireland as a Santa Claus photographer, but that's a different movie. But we would send audio tapes, I mean, little cassette tapes, because that's all we to each other, like talking. And so when Cory wrote the script, he went back and listened to all these tapes. And so a lot of like Glitter's cheesy dialogue is actually my tapes. But yeah, we still have those, and someday maybe we'll post them.
How dare you? That's amazing. Lovely. Okay, another question?
So what was the effort, or let's say it this way, the Indigo Girls begged to be in the film, or did you,
How did you get the Indigo Girls in the film?
yeah.
Yeah.
We begged them every day for, you know, like, they knew that we really wanted them in it from the beginning because we felt like if they were not, then I feel like their fans would wonder whether or not they supported the film. And so we really wanted that. Of course, we were in the middle of a pandemic. They had just started touring again that summer, and it was really scary at the time because they were afraid, because, you know, they don't just, when they don't go on tour, they're not just making money for themselves, they're making money for their whole team, their crew, the other musicians, and so they didn't want to take the risk to travel and go outside of their COVID bubble, but Amy was like a trooper, and like the last minute said, "I'll come do it." And actually, it's like to tell the secret, Emily never came to Mexico. Every time you see her in Mexico, she's green screened, magically green screened in, because she actually had gotten sick right before she was supposed to come, or she was maybe going to come. So we went to Atlanta a year later and shot all of her stuff in Atlanta on green screen and just stuck her in wherever we could.
That's pretty impressive.
But don't tell anybody that.
Yes, you're in front.
I'm a huge Indigo Girls fan, obviously, but I'm an even bigger. Ooh, I didn't mean to do that.
They're calling right
Even bigger B-52s fan, and I was so happy to see Kate Pearson on there. That was so incredible. So, like, what made you choose or ask her to?
We knew, I mean, Get Out the Map, we wanted cameos, and again, with Mexico, it's really hard to get people to travel, and so we kind of like kept those as little like place marks that we were gonna do down the road, and we had just a wish list of like, you know, queer icons, and Kate was at the top of it, and we wanted Kate to come and shoot in New York, in the city. We live in the city, New York City, and you know, I'm like, I rented some crappy little studio, and I was like, come on, it'll only take an hour, it's gonna be really fast and fun. And she was like, no, why don't you come up to the B-52 studio in Woodstock? So we got to go and shoot up in.
And the room is insane. It's like every award they've won, every poster, the record.
I mean, there needs to obviously be a B-52 jukebox musical too. Like they're incredible. Kate's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we also got Peppermint and Burrell and
Some people maybe don't recognize that.
yeah, Beth Malone. I don't know if people recognize Beth Malone. Beth Malone is actually working with Emily on a musical that they hope to bring to Broadway or the stage at some point. But Beth was in Fun Home, so we've been a huge fan of her as well.
Other questions? Yes?
There's one way in back that's been up. There's Rebecca put it well earlier that the jukebox musical is really hard to do. I don't know that I've ever seen it done as well as this. It was
Thank you.
really, truly beautiful. But how, in what order did that go? Did you know what lyrics you wanted placed with which piece of the story, or did each inform the other?
Well, I knew choosing their catalog that I would be able to find the exact right lyric for the moment. So the story was definitely pretty hardcore in place when I went through, and it's really weird if you listen to music, like I had to listen to every song 3 times, and I did it over like the course of like 3 months, because you listen to a song and you're like feeling the vibe and you're feeling the beat and you're like, this is a perfect song for this moment, and then you come back to it and look at it and you're like, these lyrics have nothing to do with this moment at all. And then vice versa, sometimes you're like, these lyrics are perfect, but the vibe of the song is just not right for the scene. And it was a very, I am a Virgo, so I had like spreadsheets, I color coded the songs for like what they could be. I also color coded them orange for Emily and yellow for Amy, because I wanted to make sure they were relatively evenly distributed between the 2 writers. And so it took a lot longer than I thought it would to really get to what it is.
That's why I'm working on my Neutral Milk Hotel movie. It's really short.
There are lots of Easter eggs. We're really diehard Indigo Girls fans. Like there's a lot of dialogue that are lyrics. There's, you know, kind of other songs that we couldn't put in that we say the title of within the lyrics. So we have a lot of little hidden
I
things.
got a question in the back there. Yeah.
Yeah, actually no questions, just a lot of compliments.
We love that.
Yeah, man.
This is like the follow-up to Where the World Mind that
thanks.
I've been wanting to see for a really long time. And this really has the spirit of that movie in it. The whole movie just has a really gorgeous, beautiful look. It's surprising to hear that you did this on a low budget, because it really has a very polished look. I love the fact that it was in Mexico City. It reminded me, I know that at least some of the scenes in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet were in Mexico City.
They shot the whole thing
It has
there,
that
yeah.
familiar but not familiar type of look to it. I also too really love the fact that you had 2 gay boys in the midst of pretty much a female environment. I thought that was really brilliant. And Alan was excellent. And so is Alex. But I mean, you know, like,
And Alex is not here, so.
the last thing I was gonna say, I don't know if I really should, admit this.
I'll just email him, it's fine.
I don't know if I should admit this in this crowd, but I actually have not really listened to the Indigo Girls.
Yes,
You don't have to listen to them, you just have to say you like them.
No, my point is that I didn't really know their music going into this movie, and it worked perfectly. I mean, so
Thank you.
for what it's worth, you don't need to know the Indigo Girls music to really appreciate this movie. It really, really holds together and works well. And congratulations to all of y'all.
That's our publicist right there. Now go download the collection. No, thank you. Where the World Mind, Cory and I made in 2008, which is, if you haven't seen it, it's out there, but it's
We played that.
You did, yeah. It's a twist on Shakespeare, Midsummer Night's Dream. And our goal, every time we make a musical, we made a musical called Hello Again a couple years back, and that's based on an off-Broadway show that's 10 different time periods in New York. which is also crazy. Like we try to keep up in the bar, and yes, thank you.
Up in the bar and then having to do it for less money. Because it sucks being on
Exactly.
the filming. I think we've got time for one more question, and then we gotta go party and drink. Yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, do y'all have any distribution news to share with us?
We don't right now, so
Okay.
we don't, but we will hopefully soon. But I mean, the indie film right now it's really hard out there, and so it all depends on these festivals, word of mouth, telling people to check it out, going to our social media.
Please post about it.
Yeah,
That's
we have some
the
really
best thing
fun
you can do.
behind the scenes stuff on our social media. Michelle Shamuel, we did a post today. Michelle is our music producer, who's a genius. She was on The Voice, and there's a fun thing of her on there today, so check out that. But yeah, I mean, it's really about word of mouth and making sure that people know that people want to see this movie.
Yeah, please share, because I think the film's playing a number of queer festivals after this as well. So like, we get the ball rolling, you get people talking about it, and that's the best thing you can do.
And that's across the board, not just our movie, but all the films here, like supporting indie film is.
Well, that's really nice of you to say.
It is,
Just
but it's
as
true.
true right now.
I know, like, supporting indie film.
Thank you guys so much for being here.